If you wanted an episode of the Fox sitcom Malcolm in the Middle, with an A story by David Cronenberg, a B story by David Fincher, and a C story by David Lynch, you might get the 14th episode of Season 6, Ida Loses a Leg.
Isn't this great?
This episode seems like the brainchild of Todd Holland, who previously worked on Tales from the Crypt, Twin Peaks, and Amazing Stories.
Dad, the boundary between reality and fiction is here.
Life is real, Harry.
His biography states that his life was changed when he saw an episode of Johnny Quest that scared the bejesus out of him. So he was an executive producer on the show who claimed to have always had a darker sensibility in comedy. And that style fits this episode.
Well, I wonder which nightmare I'm gonna have tonight. The forest of severed legs or drowning in Grandma's blood.
To clarify, this episode isn't horrific in the sense that it's scary. It's comedy which borrows themes from horror, starting with the body horror theme when Ida loses her leg saving Dewey from a truck, shown by this gruesome hard cut to Chile. Dewey feels guilty about this to the point that he's haunted by it, so he tells Hal about wanting to bury the leg and then tricks the hospital into sending it to the house. But he gets too many legs and has a Cinderella moment to find out which is Ida's.
Okay, Prince Charming looking for Cinderella.
In the middle of the ceremony, Hal brings a dog home which he got to cheer Dewey up, but the dog steals the leg and the chewing sounds are so diabolical.
Hey Dad, is it okay if we don't keep the dog?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
The B story is like a thriller with aspects of psychological horror. Beginning when Hal plants the idea of gluing someone's face to the floor.
It's just regular old super glue. Got a ton of that stuff in our garage. Where do people get these ideas?
It's like the idea of doing it pops in your head like a sneeze.
He obviously planted this as a way to keep Malcolm and Reese too busy with each other to cause any problems for him, and it works immediately.
You are not going to misbehave this week.
The sleep deprivation and fear takes its toll, and eventually they try to make a truce. Malcolm brings Stevie to guard his sleep, but he's already too paranoid to trust him. So when Reese enters, it spirals to an insane resolution, where the planted idea proves so strong that they convince themselves to glue their own faces to the floor.
Jennifer, cut it out.
The C story has a gothic theme, with Lois and Francis taking care of Ida, who is an archetype straight from Victorian Gothic horror.
Good luck running when they come with the dogs and chase you into the hills.
Matching Gothic horror's characteristic theme of a stranglehold of the past upon the present, she haunts the family like an old world ghoul, constantly robbing them of any joy.
It sounds like a song they sang when they would ride through the villages and throw the babies into the fire.
Francis and Ida have the most overt friction of any two characters in the show. And now he has to take care of her.
I am not asking you to do this for her. I'm asking you to do this for me.
He makes an effort to get on with her for Lois's sake, and they bond over common hatred. But in sharing the family history, Ida reveals that Lois sent Francis to live with her, which literally scarred him for life.
That's what this is from?
You cried like a baby when I tried to zoo you up.
I was a baby!
After some introspection, Lois feels guilty and tries to console him, which is actually a character-defining moment for her.
I have to tell you something. I wasn't a good enough mother to you, and I'm sorry.
She resented her own traumatic upbringing, but when being gentle with Francis failed, she realised that a harsher style was the only way to control him.
Fire is dangerous. Fire can kill you. I will not let that happen. I love you. And I will do whatever I have to take care of you and keep you safe.
There is a parallel to Ida, because in spite of the overt selfishness and evil,
Take the children! Just let me live!
when push comes to shove, she would also do anything to keep Dewey safe.
I mean, Grandma lost her leg saving my life, but she doesn't really want to talk to me.
However, the harshness is absolute with Ida, and the contrast between her and Lois is highlighted when Lois held Christmas hostage to get the boys to behave, but eventually felt too guilty about this strategy.
I'm a terrible mother. I should be allowed to have children.
Sweetie.
I ruined Christmas.
Whereas Ida had secretly withheld gifts because people slighted her.
That camera, for your father, right before he refused to drive me to the liquor store.
Which brings us to Francis and what I'm going to call a dilution of evil over generations. Because Ida never felt any guilt about withholding gifts.
Like, go get my magic sled, and me and my reindeers will go and give Christmas to all the mean, stupid, rude people.
And Lois had to actually withhold the gifts before regretting the decision.
I wanted to take it back 5 minutes after I started grabbing those presents, but I didn't know how.
But Francis knew immediately that gifts were supposed to be given with unconditional love.
Gifts aren't conditional. They're gifts. You give them to people because you love them.
You deserved a mother who was more patient and more caring. And it breaks my heart that you didn't get that mother.
Thank you. Wow. Why don't I feel better?
When one has been angry for a very long time, one gets used to it. Then it becomes comfortable, like old leather. It becomes so familiar that one can't ever remember feeling any other way.
Francis freaks out when Lois's apology doesn't make him feel better. And this is where the Gothic horror amplifies. Because just like the memory of lost love in Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven, Francis's psychological trauma from his upbringing is literally the past's stranglehold on him.
We'd like you to think back to your earliest memories.
You gotta be kidding me. My childhood was a nightmare. I spent the rest of my life trying to board up that haunted house. Mr. Puzzles!
We can pity him, but we shall not dismiss him.
Thank you, Francis. You can go now. Do you want me to give you some money?
Lois is powerless to help Francis, so she offers him some money, which is another parallel to when Hal tried to put a price on Lois's psychological trauma.
And I know it would be folly to try to put a price on the deep psychological trauma that you've caused Lois through the years. $3,000 sound okay to you?
This is key because the life advice in this episode comes from Hal, who is external to the generational struggle which subsumes Ida, Lois and Francis.
You are still stuck in this stupid death struggle that you have had with him since he was born.
Now we have to feel Dad forever.
He tells Dewey to focus on living up to his potential instead of dwelling on the past, which isn't the same as saying forget the past, because as symbolically shown with the leg, we can't just bury the past.
You want to pay her back? Live up to that potential.
Even if we had a potion of forgetfulness, or an nepenthe, as alluded to in The Raven, removing traumatic memories would remove parts of ourselves and fundamentally change who we are.
We use past experience to help guide us.
So we have to find a way to wear scars of pride.
I never left this ship.
He's saying that the past is always with us. And where we come from, what we go through, how we go through it, all this shit matters.
For Francis, this amplifies in the 15th episode of Season 7, where he's become a recovering alcoholic who never had an addiction to alcohol.
How the hell can you call yourself an alcoholic if you don't even drink?
I had all the signs.
Except for the alcohol part.
What do you mean? My life was a wreck. I had no future, no hope.
Francis is a non-functioning, non-alcoholic because of the psychological trauma from his upbringing.
And to my mother, I forgive you.
Forgiving Lois long after she apologised in the previous season shows that he's still trying to blame other things for what's now his problem.
If it's not me, it's alcohol, right? The problem's always somewhere else. Francis, you need to take a look in the mirror.
So, to move on, he needs to take Hal's advice and find a way to live up to his potential in spite of the past. And the only way to do this is with the same kind of introspection that Lois showed and Ida was incapable of.
I was blaming her and the alcohol for my problems. And the real problem was always right in front of me.
Me?
Why didn't you tell me I wasn't an alcoholic?
How am I supposed to know? You seem messed up to me.
Are you finished?
Yes, I am.
Until next week, please don't do anything that we wouldn't do, would you? And if you don't do it, don't do something